In 1998, I was the one out of 800 MBAs, I was the one kid who started a company. Every other one took jobs. And then 98, there was a bunch of stuff starting to percolate. The next year, there were 14 companies funded at Kellogg in 99. They were on the cover of Fortune and Business Week with all their kids doing all this stuff. But I was one, and I stuck around because I was a big fish. Because they wanted to get these entrepreneurs off the ground. I got access to everyone in Chicago for what that was worth. And then when I decided it was either Boston or San Francisco, I got intros right into it. And truth be told, Matt's a big deal in Boston. Brian's a big deal in Boston. Karen's a big deal in Boston. There's 10 consumer companies. I sat with a buddy trying to figure out how we get all the consumer CEOs in Boston together. And I was like, well, that was a short list. It took like 35 seconds. So if you have an idea, if you're getting off the ground, you can be a big fish in a small pond, and you can rip through the 5 VCs that care about this stuff and get some pretty good feedback quick, whether you should stay here or get on a plane and go somewhere else. So I like being, as a startup, you need every advantage, obviously everything they said, but the big fish, small pond is very powerful.
The question is, how, knowing what we know now about this, reading the paper that there's some kind of economic crisis or something potentially going on, not evident here, obviously, but serious question though, how would you be pitching and looking for money and trying to get money if you were trying to pitch today as opposed to just earlier this year, much less last year or the year before that? Obviously, things like big fish, small pond, unique, all that, but just the economic climate. There's people out here who are saying, holy crap, I hear what you're saying, that's all great, but look what's happening today.
And so if you have a great team and great people and a large market and a good opportunity, usually you can figure out, and the VCs know this, you can figure out an idea. The two things that I think a lot of people don't say, which, if there's any VCs in the crowd, I don't know if they're going to be too happy with this, is one, to raise VC funding, you got to try and create competition among the VCs and do it in a short period of time. And that's, I think, the one thing that's going to be super, super tough in this market because there's not that many. It's going to be a lot harder to create competition between the VCs. And the second thing I'm totally blanking on, of course. But that's one of the biggest things. These VCs play off of each other. And if they hear one VC say, that they're interested in the deal, the other one's going to get interested. They all talk. It's a very small community. And so if you can create that competition and that hype among the VCs, you have a lot greater chance of getting funded. The problem in this market, it's going to be a lot harder to create that competition between them.
My view of the situation is don't bother. Don't waste a nickel. Don't waste a second of your time. I think this is the time when you buckle down. Like you take your idea, you get creative, you find some engineers like Karen's had to, and you're in a university. They want you to be successful in university. Leverage what you have that's free. Get the university to get involved, or get smaller non-VC people involved to get your product commercialized, or get your business plans up. Get your product commercialized. You got it. You're gonna have to go much further in the proof points now than we did before. And so I believe every time spent talking to VC when you're at the idea stage or you don't have customers, you don't have it, is truly wasted time right now, because they're gonna see so many things. The bar is gonna be so high that I think you can go to safe places where you can nurture your idea for a year and come out stronger and in a better position actually 12 months from now. I just think it keeps you inside.
Yeah, definitely completely agree with that. I think, like Evan said, the proof point has just gone further along. So it's not enough to just have an idea. It's not even enough just to have a prototype running. It's also not enough to just have bajillion users. If you're a social media startup, what investors need to see now is that you really have a solid business model, that you have an economic model that works, and that you really need the investment to scale versus to create that proof of concept.
As someone who is just in school, you're in the safest place in the world to make mistakes. And you will not realize until you're gone how lucky you are to be at a university that supports you. And there's so much resources that you have. And I would take advantage of that, and I would encourage the folks at Northeastern to find a way to adapt to that and help them. I think Series A typically is about betting on a dream in a lot of cases, betting on a vision, betting on a team, betting on a market. In Series B is about mitigating risk. I think Series A right now is about mitigating risk. And there's got to be a clear path to break even. It's a tough environment, and I think most people aren't talking about it by now. Even if you were to ask companies that are trying to raise a Series B, and I think we were more fortunate in our timing where we just raised the Series A, but the Series B is even a difficult time right now. So I think it's wise to be realistic about that, and it's wise to, if you do approach investors, acknowledge that you understand what the environment looks like.
How did you use, with your prototype and Google AdSense, how did you use those numbers to, I don't know, hype up your idea? Or how much can it be used? Like, what was your thing for gauging initial, I guess, interest with your prototype? And for those of you that have used Google AdSense or advertising, what's the value behind it? Like, how much predictions can they use?
I think about it differently. Is your thing a consumer play?
I'm just, well, I guess trying to like incorporate it in like the revenue. Like, is it just like marginal, or how much?
So it's probably marginal. That's, in general, the lower CPA. There's a lot more people doing a lot more creative things. I'd be more concerned about, if you're driving traffic, becoming an SEO expert, because that's the model. That's free traffic with content. That's the goal. That's the goal. That's the craft. At least for certain models, obviously. Brian is the studier of all things business models, so he buys content. But SEO in general can bring you lots of traffic if done right. There's a lot of people in this town who know how to do it right if you find your way to them. As it relates to monetizing their site, I think the last one that will do anything for you is Google AdSense. I mean,
Last resort.
yeah, it's just a commodity. You get bigger, you make more. You still make little. The creative concepts they're going to want to see is, even at a small size, does someone care about it enough to write you a check? If you're doing a healthcare pharmaceutical thing, will some of the biotech firms, or will some of the pharmaceutical companies want to write you a check to reach this audience that you're theoretically getting? I think you have to find a way to get real people to take a real bet on you, more than plugging in, Google for a way to make money.
For us, there's two revenue streams. The first is if one of our end users, one of our publishers that we integrate buys a digital good for, say, $1, we give a small chunk of that back to the creator of the item. We get a chunk of it to the publisher as a revenue generator for them, and then we take our piece of the pie in the middle. The other option is that we do have brands that come in and sponsor virtual goods and make them free to their users. And they'll pay like $100,000 to create 250,000 digital gifts to be distributed. And we split that revenue